Good morning, Meadowview Mustangs. I am Miss Hartley, and I'm going to share Chapter 13 of The Adventures of the South Pole Pig with you. We have met an adventurous pig so far, and now we're even into the coldness going towards the South Pole. So, let's read on and see what other kind of adventures Miss Flora gets into. Chapter 13. When the ship's horn blew, it felt as though the deep sound went inside Flora and rattled around. Two more blasts came after the first. As soon as the last blast died away, Flora became aware of a low rumble. The ship's engines were running. A slow side-to-side rocking motion started up and sent a thrill through Flora from the tip of her snout down to the end of her tail, despite her awful quarters. They were underway. She looked around at all the supplies piled against the walls of the ship. Surrounding her was a wide space, a clear walking path to the stairs, and another path through the boxes and barrels. Close by there was a food bowl. Flora sniffed it. Spaghetti with tomato sauce and rinds of squash. Not bad, but she would rather explore her new environment. Unfortunately, Flora couldn't get farther than a few steps before she was stopped short. She walked a few more paces in the other direction until her chain pulled tight, but this time she strained against it and the chain gave. Behind her, she heard the box as she was clipped to grind against the floor. She sat down. This could get tiring. But wait, that was the point. It was supposed to be hard work. Flora had some catching up to do. Stuck in her pen back home, she hadn't trained nearly as much as the farm dogs. Flora pulled at her chain again and heard a satisfying growl from the box scraping over the rough wooden decking. Her leather collar dug into her neck. Good. Sled pulling wasn't supposed to be comfortable. Too bad no one was down here to cheer her on and make sure her technique was right. Instead, a smell wrinkled her nose. It was not a good smell, so she tried to shut it out. She focused on the window in the door at the top of the stairs.
Y'all hear a name to the office to leave? Y'all hear a name to the office to leave?
On that small bit of light and strained again. Don't give up. Step, pull, step, stop. As soon as Flora sat down, she heard that strange rustling again. Anybody there? She asked. Another rustle. Or maybe it was more like scratching came from behind the box. So did more of that bad smell. Flora shivered. But this was no time to be afraid like little Alfred. She dragged her box until she could peer into a dark space between cargoes. The floor almost seemed to be moving, as if it were alive. Flora looked longingly at the stairs. Then she turned back. Yikes! She hopped backwards. A big, greasy rat with long, wiry whiskers and a bald patch between his ears had stepped out from behind the box and was sniffing in Flora's direction. Flora tried to be brave. She tried to remember her rat-hunting moves, but suddenly attacking a crumpled paper bag or a dried orange peel didn't seem like enough training. As she watched him creep closer, she worked hard to stop shaking so her chain wouldn't rattle. Then he stood on his hind legs and opened his mouth, showing off his impressive, sharp yellow teeth. He snapped his mouth shut. Then he oozed in the direction of her food bowl. Here's a little picture of the rat. He sure is a grimy-looking fella. Flora scrambled as far away as possible and sank to her stomach. She could see him slip over the bowl's edge and paddle around while searching out the best morsels. Evidently, he did not care that his food was becoming soggy with tomato sauce or that this was not his food. In a moment, he was joined by two mean-looking buddies. Chewing and slurping were the only sounds. Flora imagined an ocean of rats watching from the shadows. She hid her face between her hooves. Once the food in Flora's bowl had been eaten, the rats disappeared. That was good. The light at the top of the stairs was dimming. Night was coming. The rustling in the darkness seemed even louder. Flora shivered at the thought of having to listen to rat sounds all night long. The ship was bucking and pounding along. She could feel the boards underneath her shudder. She needed to think about something cheerful. Hike, she whispered to herself and brought pictures to mind. The snow was a glittering blanket. Across the folds of white raced Flora the sled pig. She was galloping beside a frozen lake with a team of a dozen sled dogs. Oscar was in front. At the end of the line was the sled, brightly painted in a festive blue with white stars for decoration. "Onward!" called Oscar. "Onward!" Flora echoed. "We're tough, we're brave, and we're a little bit crazy." She leaped and twisted in the air in a crazy little dance before speeding on. Even if sleep didn't come, Flora's mind was in a far better place. "Hike," she murmured again and again. Whoo, that piggy has gotten herself into quite a pickle. I know I would not like sleeping with those rats nearby. But tune into Monday, and hopefully Flora will be in a much better predicament.